So today I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to do a video explaining my rating system and how I review books and kind of what I judge them on when I do review them, because just like everybody else, I do use the star rating system, but the star rating system is not always consistent. And I realized that this is a kind of video that I've never really done before. I haven't really explained totally how my ratings work and how my reviews work. I think I do have quite a difference in how I do that than a lot of other booktubers and book reviewers, so I think it'll be beneficial for any of my viewers to know kind of what's going on inside of my brain when I'm doing book reviews. Now, unfortunately, I can't just straight up tell you how my rating system works, because I think in order for you to truly understand why I review things the way that I review them, you have to understand why I started to review books in the first place. And in order to understand why I started to review books in the first place, well, we have to turn the pages of my past and take a look back into my childhood. Once upon a time... No, that doesn't sound right. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away... There must be a way, not cliché, nor a copyright. There's always a way. No, not you! Too late. Our tale, it begins a good many years back. I did not say. With our heroine, innocent, you could come... What? Younger and milder. Oh, okay. But advanced, craving big words that JFs seem to lack. Look, books for the older. They're much thicker, wilder. This pigtailed delight, with eyes full of wonder, undertook that epic quest to the section YA. Oh. Ah. With a passport to knowledge, a thirst and a hunger, books did she plunder amid joyous sachet. But aghast! All those words, those terrible fiends, they bit at her, slashed at her, blinded her, haunted her. And she flung them away, enraged. Oh, how can this be? Betrayed, dismayed, cried out for her father. Once my friends, but no more. Vile, treacherous things. Relate vulgarities eyes such as mine shouldn't see. Never again shall I read, for these books are all fiends. Unless, pretty please, you'd proofread them for me. She sat thinking years later, hands on her knees. Would that there were a resource for one such as myself, to warn us explicit as to the content of these, and whether or not they'd be good for one's shelf. I cannot be the only waterless fish, floundering for a good book without all of that junk. Good quality, mixed with good values, ought to be niche. That the two are at odds is a myth to debunk. She thought and she pondered as to their sad fate, when she and many others on bad books lost their time, and if some reader, a hero, would step to the plate. The answer came quick, fit to end our small rhyme. Why not I? For I know the worth of a book, in character, pacing, and in story told true. I know good morals don't totally ruin a look, and maybe I can help a reader like you. Okay, so, that just happened. You can thank, or blame, probably the greatest showman in my current addiction to its soundtrack for that one, and the library ninja, because she recently told me she thought my poetry was clever. So yeah, that's who you can blame, or thank. But all in all, I hope you enjoyed this little performance. So basically, as a young teen and someone who had been raised in a Judeo-Christian faith with pretty strict conservative beliefs, which, yes, by the way, I do still retain today. Yeah, a lot of the stuff in the young adult books completely traumatized me. So that has a big influence on how I review and rate books, because I rate books first and foremost for personal enjoyment. And if I start reading a book that's just slapping me in the face with everything that I personally oppose in my morals, my values, and my beliefs, yeah, I'm not going to enjoy that book. I'm not going to enjoy that book. So it's going to get a lower rating, and I might not even finish it, right? I have a series of filters that I use when I'm reviewing a book. So like one of the first ones is personal enjoyment. One of the next things that I look at is style and execution. So the quality of the book. How's the writing? How are the characters? How's the plot? How's the mystery? Etc, etc, etc. And then one of the next filters is going to be that morals and values filter. So when I started reviewing books here on BookTube, that was one of my big things, was that morals and values filter. It's still one of my big things, but I've learned how to adjust it. So it used to be, when I was reading a book, and I hit that morals and values filter, and it wasn't quite sifting all the way through that filter, I'd just give it a lower rating, and I would say, yep, didn't really like it, wasn't for me, and toss it aside. Nowadays, I'm trying to become a better source for a broader audience, so I will review the book. I will probably give it a lower rating because of whatever it was that wouldn't sift through that morals and filters value, but I will explain it in the review. So that last filter is age appropriateness. I think this discussion has gone around BookTube before. How can one booktuber possibly judge if a book is appropriate for a certain age range? Because we all have different opinions. And this is coming from, you know, the person with the Judeo-Christian beliefs and background, right? So someone who does not have that background is going to be reading something at a younger age that I probably never would have touched, right? So what I'm suggesting is, don't focus so much on the age appropriateness level, like don't try and decide whether or not it's appropriate for a certain age group. Just tell me what's in there that might be offensive to people. That's all I want to know. I just want to know if they're swearing, or if they're smut, or massive gore and violence, any kind of controversial things that might offend somebody. So this is what I have started to do, and I do pair it with a movie-style rating, which I think is pretty simple because movies, even though they have the age rating listed on the back, not everybody follows the suggested age guidance. I know a 6-year-old who used to watch a PG-13 movie all of the time growing up, and I have met a 12-year-old who likes to watch rated R horror movies. So long as their parents are okay with it, that's up to them. But the thing is, the movie-like rating provides a good generic guideline to let people kind of know the content that is in a book. For example, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I would probably give this book a PG-13 rating because it deals with a lot of big ideas but scary ideas. This is all about Jewish sympathetic family surviving in Nazi Germany. So there's a lot of stuff in there that is not necessarily going to be great for younger kids to read, but it's a really, really good book, right? So PG-13, I would recommend this for mature kids if they want to know more about this kind of time period, or if they really like these type of stories, right? This book, Vicious by V.E. Schwab, now this book I would rate heavily R because there is a lot of swearing in it. Other than that, I didn't have a problem with anything in this book. I thought it was a really great book. I think the characters are interesting, I think the plot was great, and the storytelling was fantastic. But it would definitely be rated R because of a lot of swearing. Okay, and how the age appropriateness thing kind of plays in here is Vicious by V.E. Schwab is an adult book. Okay, so this is shelved in the adult section. It's about adult character. Well, there is one child character, but it's an adult book. This is for adults. This is written for adults. And it has a lot of swearing in it, so I would give it an R rating, but I would probably give it a 5-star rating because of just how much I enjoyed it. Now there is another book that had so much swearing in it, it would have been rated R, but I did not finish it and I was not enjoying it, and one of the reasons for that was because it was a young adult book. It was called Dorothy Must Die, and I know it was very popular. It probably might still be very popular, but I started reading it and I did not like that there was that much swearing in a book in the young adult section because it was for teenagers, and I personally do not think you need that kind of language in a teenage book. So that book I DNF'd, and that book I would have rated R, and I probably would have given it like 1 star if I had actually finished it and reviewed it. So that's kind of how the age appropriateness thing plays into the scale, and how it helps me judge books. So there is some content I'm more okay with in books that are intended for older audiences, whereas if they were in a book intended for younger audiences, yeah, no way. No way. So when it comes down to it, how I rate books is not solely reliable on the star rating that I give a book, because behind that star rating, you've got all of these filters back here that I push a book through as I'm writing a review before I give it that star rating. And so the star rating is basically a summary of my personal enjoyment of the book, the quality of the book, the morals and values that stuck out in the book, and the age appropriateness scale. So in my reviews, I always try to explicitly detail what I liked and what I didn't like, and they're all spoiler-free. Right on. So to sum up, the reason that I started reviewing books was to try and create a resource for other conservative, like-minded, Judeo-Christian believers like myself. So I don't just want to generically say, yes, this book was fantastic. I want to tell you first and foremost that you might not like it because of the swearing. But I am also attempting to keep a broader audience, which is also why I'm saying some readers might not find this appropriate because of the swearing. But if you don't care, it's fantastic. So star ratings are a summary of my book reviews. If you want to know why I rated a book with any particular number of stars, you need to go into the review where I'm going to talk about those filters and what I thought of the book itself. Alright, thanks for sticking around, and I will see you from this side of the camera.